In 1975, Tom Jones, one of the most famous singers in the world, stood on stage in Las Vegas, making a staggering $100,000 a week. To most, he was the embodiment of glamour and success, a performer adored by millions. Yet, that October night, everything seemed to unravel in a matter of minutes. As he began performing a new ballad called Darlin', the audience quickly turned against him. Drinks were thrown, booze erupted, and the crowd shouted, "Go home, Tommy." Security had no choice but to drag him off the stage mid-performance. For Tom, this was more than professional embarrassment. It was a personal nightmare. Following that night, he withdrew completely from public life for 6 months. He spent his days in his Los Angeles mansion, chain-smoking and replaying the traumatic performance over and over, trying to understand what had gone wrong. The incident was not just about one night of poor reception or an ill-fated song. Behind the public collapse lay a complex web of excess, secrecy, and scandal. Reports suggested that Tom was involved with up to 250 women a year, maintained a special room for groupies at his performances, and endured intense tension in his marriage. His wife, Linda, reportedly discovered a major affair that left her furious, even leading to a violent confrontation. These personal scandals created a pressure cooker that finally exploded in front of thousands of fans. The crowd's reaction was not a random event. It was a culmination of years of behavior and choices that had been quietly accumulating, amplified by media scrutiny and rumors. Yet, this low point in his life did not mark the end of Tom Jones' story. Instead, it set the stage for one of the most remarkable reinventions in music history. Despite the scandal and public humiliation, Jones was able to rebuild his career, adapt to changing musical trends, and reclaim his place in pop culture. His life story, full of struggle, temptation, success, and redemption, is a testament to resilience and the complex nature of fame. From humble beginnings in Wales to headline performances on international stages, the journey of Tom Jones reflects both the power and peril of living under the constant glare of public attention. Tom Jones was born Thomas John Woodward on June 7, 1940, in Pontypridd, a small town in the coal mining valleys of Wales. Life for young Tommy was challenging from the very start. He grew up in a modest terrace house at 57 Kingsland Terrace, where space was cramped and resources were limited. His father worked grueling 12-hour shifts in the mines, returning home exhausted and barely able to provide the essentials. The small house required Tommy to share a bed with his siblings, wear hand-me-down clothes, and endure a childhood where comfort was an unfamiliar concept. These early struggles instilled in him a toughness that would shape his character. In 1952, when Tommy was just 12 years old, he received devastating news. He had tuberculosis, a disease that terrified Britain at the time. Although his case was not contagious, he was confined to his bedroom for 2 full years. No school, no outdoor play, and limited interaction with the outside world became his reality. The isolation, harsh as it was, forced him to find new ways to occupy his mind and spirit. He turned to music, listening intently to BBC radio broadcasts of American blues and R&B, absorbing voices like Big Bill Broonzy late into the night. He drew and sketched, letting his imagination transport him to stages he could only dream of performing on. By the time he was allowed to sing again, his voice had changed, deepened, and developed a rough baritone quality that would later become his signature. That early adversity, rather than breaking him, shaped his talent and ambition. It also sparked a quiet determination. Once he could leave the confines of his room and walk freely in the streets, he vowed never to complain about life. School remained a struggle. Reading and writing were difficult due to undiagnosed dyslexia, leaving teachers to label him lazy. Music became the only domain where he excelled and felt recognized. Singing hymns at school, performing for family gatherings, and eventually entertaining local pub crowds, Tommy developed a sense of confidence and stage presence that would serve as a foundation for his career. By the time he was 14, he was performing regularly in dimly lit local pubs, earning tips and learning the craft of holding an audience's attention. At 16, he left school completely and took whatever work he could find to support himself, from carrying bricks to selling vacuum cleaners. Even in the midst of exhausting labor, he continued to sing at night, balancing the demands of survival with his love for music. It was in these early experiences of hardship, responsibility, and determination that the seeds of Tom Jones' remarkable career were planted. By the time he was a teenager, Tommy's life had become intertwined with adult responsibilities. He met Melinda Trenchard when they were both 12, and by the time he was 16, she was pregnant. The two married quietly in 1957, and soon after, their son Mark was born. At 17, Tom Jones was now a husband and father, balancing the pressures of supporting a family with the pursuit of his musical dreams. His first jobs were grueling and low-paying, from gluing belts at a rubber plant to working long shifts in harsh conditions. Yet, his commitment to singing never wavered. Nights were spent performing with his first proper band, Tommy Scott and Senators, covering rockabilly hits in small halls across Wales. Each performance built his confidence and honed his stagecraft. Despite setbacks, including a serious car accident in 1960 that left him bedridden for months, he persevered, leaning on Linda for support. Together, they navigated the challenges of young parenthood, poverty, and early career struggles. It was this combination of talent, determination, and support from his family that caught the attention of Gordon Mills in 1963. Mills, a former boxer-turned-music manager, recognized Tommy's raw potential immediately and took him under his wing. He changed the band's name, reshaped Tommy's image, and propelled him toward London, promising opportunities that would soon transform him into a global superstar. By the mid-1960s, Tom Jones was no longer the boy from a small Welsh town. He became a dynamic, charismatic performer whose energy on stage and distinctive baritone voice captured the hearts of audiences worldwide. His early struggles had forged not only his talent, but also a resilience that would serve him throughout the highs and lows of fame. By 1964, Tom Jones, now firmly guided by his manager Gordon Mills, was ready to enter professional music scene in London. Mills, recognizing Tommy's raw talent and distinctive voice, rebranded him completely, giving him the stage name Tom Jones, inspired by a popular film of the time. This was not just a name change. It was the beginning of a transformation from a small-town Welsh boy into an international entertainer. The early recording sessions were challenging. His first single, Chills and Fever, showed promise but failed to make a significant impact on the charts. Some industry insiders criticized his style, calling it too bold or overly sexual for mainstream tastes. Yet Mills refused to be discouraged. He saw something in Tom that went beyond conventional pop. He recognized the energy, charisma, and raw stage presence that could captivate audiences worldwide. This persistence paid off in November 1964, when Tom was given the opportunity to record a song called It's Not Unusual after another singer passed on the chance. In a rush recording session, he added a spontaneous woo near the end of the song, a small improvisation that would become iconic. The track quickly captured the attention of pirate radio stations, and by early 1965, it soared to number 1 in the United Kingdom. Within months, the song had reached number 10 on the U.S. Billboard chart and sold over 1 million copies worldwide. The sudden success was overwhelming. Tom went from performing in small Welsh pubs to facing global attention, all within a matter of months. His unique blend of powerful vocals, dynamic stage presence, and emotional intensity set him apart from other British acts of time, who often appear reserved and polished. For audiences, Tom Jones was not just a singer. He was an experience, a performer who demanded attention and left a lasting impression on everyone who saw him. The rapid rise to fame brought with it both opportunity and pressure. Suddenly, Tom was a household name, traveling between the UK and the US, navigating record deals, performances, and the public's fascination. This period cemented his place as a global superstar, but also marked the beginning of the intense scrutiny and challenges that would follow him throughout his life. The success of It's Not Unusual set the stage for a career that would be defined not only by musical talent, but also by the ability to adapt, reinvent, and survive under the constant glare of fame. With his fame accelerating, Tom Jones' career moved into a new phase characterized by high-profile performances and increasingly complex public life. In April 1965, he appeared on the legendary Ed Sullivan Show, watched by 28 million Americans. Audiences were captivated by his intense stage energy, charismatic hip thrusts, and commanding presence. The contrast between his bold performances and the more restrained British pop acts of the time made him stand out immediately. The U.S. public was fascinated by his sexuality and raw charisma, while critics compared him to the likes of Elvis Presley and Frank Sinatra. During this period, he began releasing a series of successful singles and albums that solidified his place in the global music scene. In 1965, he recorded What's New Pussycat, the theme song for the Woody Allen film of the same name. The Abbey Road recording session was chaotic, with multiple pianos and musicians struggling to sync, but composer Burt Bacharach recognized the raw energy as part of the song's appeal. The track reached number 11 on the UK singles chart and further expanded his U.S. presence, earning him a Grammy nomination for Best New Artist in 1966. Around this time, he also released Green Grass of Home, which became a massive hit in the UK, topping charts for 7 weeks and selling millions of copies worldwide. Its emotional narrative, depicting a prisoner's final thoughts before execution, resonated deeply with listeners, some of whom mistakenly believed Tom had experienced prison life firsthand. These achievements established Tom Jones as a singer who could deliver both powerful pop hits and emotionally compelling songs, blending entertainment with storytelling in a way that few artists could replicate. However, alongside this professional success, the seeds of personal scandal were beginning to grow. His growing fame and attention from fans, particularly women, created tension within his marriage. While he continued to release hits and dominate charts, his private life was becoming increasingly complicated, a pattern that would later contribute to the public collapse in Las Vegas. At this stage, Tom Jones was not only a singer and performer, but also a figure whose life reflected the highs and lows of celebrity, extraordinary success, intense public scrutiny, and personal challenges that were often inseparable from his professional achievements that be why in 1968, Tom Jones' career had reached a peak where his stage persona, musical talent, and public image were tightly intertwined. He was headlining shows in Las Vegas, performing at venues like the Flamingo Hotel, and earning enormous fees for his appearances. It was here that the glitz and glamour of show business began to mix dangerously with excess. Reports suggested his performances were not just musical events, but spectacles where fans often expressed their enthusiasm in extreme ways, such as throwing lingerie or room keys onto the stage. This attention fueled both his reputation and his personal indulgences. At the same time, he developed close relationships with other music legends, including Frank Sinatra, who advised him to own the stage like it's yours, reinforcing the intensity and dominance that became hallmarks of his performances. In 1968, he released Delilah, a song inspired by a true story of jealousy and murder. Its release coincided with heightened public interest in his personal life, and a live performance on BBC's Top of the Pops saw Tom smash a guitar in an unplanned, jealous-inspired display. The public and media reaction to these events fueled his notoriety, creating a blend of admiration and scandal that would follow him for years. By this time, the combination of professional success and personal controversy was shaping the complex figure Tom Jones, a performer whose talent was undeniable but whose private life was increasingly exposed to public judgment. The late 1960s and early 1970s were thus a critical period, balancing superstardom, media scrutiny, and personal choices that would continue to define both his career trajectory and the public perception of his character. By the early 1970s, Tom Jones had become one of the most electrified performers in Las Vegas. Headlining at Caesar's Palace and other high-profile venues, he reportedly earned as much as $100,000 per week, a figure almost unimaginable at the time, especially for a non-American act. Crowds came in droves, drawn by his commanding stage presence, powerful voice, and undeniable sex appeal. The energy in the room was electric. Fans screamed, threw lingerie onto the stage, and at times created chaotic scenes that became part of his legend. Offstage, however, the lifestyle was beginning to take its toll. Tom's days were consumed with rehearsals, recording sessions, and press appearances, while his nights were filled with parties, poker games, and late-night indulgences with friends like Elvis Presley. The combination of extreme attention, demanding work, and easy access to temptation began to strain his marriage and blur the line between his public persona and private life. During this period, Jones reportedly engaged in numerous affairs, some involving high-profile figures, such as Miss World Marjorie Wallace. The intensity of his fame made it difficult for him to maintain privacy, and tabloid coverage of his romantic exploits began to dominate headlines, feeding a growing public fascination with his offstage life. Despite these challenges, he continued to release hit singles and perform to sold-out crowds, a testament to both his resilience and his fans' enduring adoration. Yet beneath the glitz and glamour, cracks were forming that would culminate in one of the most infamous nights of his career, forever linking his name to scandal and public humiliation. The juxtaposition of professional triumph and personal turmoil defined Tom Jones during this era, creating a tension that would explode spectacularly in Las Vegas in 1975. That October 27, 1975, marked a pivotal moment in Tom Jones' life and career. On that night, he stepped onto the stage at the Las Vegas Hilton in a sequin jumpsuit, ready to perform a new ballad called Darlin' for an audience of over 2,000. What unfolded in the next few minutes shocked both him and the public. The crowd, fueled by rumors about his private life and growing dissatisfaction with his stage persona, turned hostile almost immediately. Drinks were thrown, booze filled the air, and cries, "Go home, Tommy," echoed throughout the venue. Security intervened, forming a human wall to escort him off stage, leaving Tom drenched in sweat and shocked by the intensity of the backlash. The humiliation was magnified by the fact that much of the audience had previously adored him, making the reversal feel deeply personal. For 6 months afterward, he withdrew from performing entirely. He spent long hours in his Los Angeles home, chain-smoking and replaying recordings of the disastrous night, struggling to reconcile his public image with the personal choices that had contributed to the collapse. The scandal was not a single event, but rather the culmination of years of behavior. His affairs, including the high-profile relationship with Marjorie Wallace, had strained his marriage and fueled tabloid speculation. The rumors of a special room for groupies at the performances created a public narrative that transformed admiration into moral judgment. When coupled with other personal indiscretions and the relentless media coverage, it was no wonder the audience's reaction was so extreme. This period of retreat, though painful, became a turning point in his life. It forced Tom to confront the consequences of his lifestyle, the fragile nature of public favor, and the need to find new ways to sustain his career while managing the private fallout from his fame. The personal scandal surrounding Tom Jones in the mid-1970s went far beyond the stage. The affair with Marjorie Wallace, who had been crowned Miss World in 1973, became a particularly explosive story. The relationship was highly publicized, with the media following their meetings and romantic outings, including a notorious kiss on a Barbados beach during a Miss World television show. The affair led to her losing her crown in March 1974, a dramatic turn that linked celebrity, scandal, and international media attention. Complicating matters further, her fiancé, American racing driver Peter Revson, died in a crash that same year, adding tragedy and intrigue to the headlines. Meanwhile, his marriage to Linda Trenchard, which had begun when they were teenagers, was under immense strain. Linda reportedly discovered the affair and confronted Tom physically, leaving him bruised and shaken. These personal dramas, combined with the chaos of Las Vegas performances and media scrutiny, painted a picture of a star whose professional success was inseparable from personal turmoil. The fallout from these events shaped both his career trajectory and public perception. Fans who had once seen him as a glamorous, untouchable figure began to view him as a symbol of the excesses of celebrity culture in the 1970s. The collapse on stage, the retreat that followed, and the stories circulating in tabloids created a complex narrative in which Tom Jones' musical brilliance was intertwined with scandal, moral judgment, and human vulnerability. This period, though one of humiliation and challenge, would ultimately become a catalyst for reflection, reinvention, and the next phase of his extraordinary career. After the turbulence of the 1970s, the 1980s presented Tom Jones with both challenges and opportunities for reinvention. Following years of tabloid scrutiny and public judgment, he faced the difficult task of re-establishing his musical relevance while navigating the lingering effects of past scandals. In 1986, a pivotal change occurred when his longtime manager, Gordon Mills, passed away. This loss could have destabilized Jones' career, but it also created an opening for his son, Mark, to step in. Mark assumed a managerial role and quickly became a central figure in guiding his father's professional choices, helping him to rebuild momentum and strategically navigate the music industry. Around the same period, Jones experimented with new sounds that demonstrated both courage and adaptability. In 1988, he collaborated with the British electronic group The Art of Noise to produce a synth-heavy cover of Prince's Kiss. The combination of electronic instrumentation and his unmistakable baritone voice was unconventional, even risky, but it worked brilliantly. The song climbed the charts, reaching number 5 in the United Kingdom and topping charts in New Zealand and Spain. The music video, which employed cutting-edge chroma key effects, became a staple on MTV and introduced Tom Jones to a younger generation, proving that he could evolve with the times while staying true to his vocal identity. This moment signaled a critical shift. Jones was no longer merely a classic performer from the 1960s and 1970s, but an artist capable of reinventing himself in the face of changing musical landscapes. His ability to merge his signature soulful delivery with contemporary production elements not only revived his career, but also demonstrated the resilience and versatility that would define his later years. Alongside his professional resurgence, Jones' personal life remained complex, marked by both reconciliation and continued challenges. His marriage to Linda Trenchard endured despite decades of high-profile affairs and public scrutiny, reflecting a deep, if sometimes turbulent, bond between the two. The couple had weathered multiple crises, including the Marjorie Wallace scandal and other reported relationships that attracted media attention. While Linda remained a stabilizing force, she also confronted Tom's behavior directly on several occasions, at times physically expressing her frustration and disapproval. Their son, Mark, became a crucial intermediary, balancing loyalty to his parents with the demands of managing his father's career. Mark's involvement allowed Tom to focus on creative work, while benefiting from professional guidance in the face of complex business and public relations challenges. The family dynamic, though strained by past events, ultimately contributed to Jones' longevity in the entertainment industry. By the late 1980s and early 1990s, the combination of artistic reinvention and structured family support enabled him to continue performing at a high level, bridging the gap between his classic fan base and a new generation discovering his music through innovative collaborations and televised appearances. This period highlighted the intersection of talent, adaptability, and personal resilience that became central to Tom Jones' enduring success. The 1990s and early 2000s marked a period of remarkable recognition, achievement, and continued reinvention for Tom Jones. In 1999, at the age of 59, he released Reload, an album that would become one of the most commercially successful of his career. Built around duets with contemporary artists, the album demonstrated his ability to blend his signature style with modern influences, appealing to longtime fans and newer audiences alike. Tracks such as Sex Bomb, featuring Mousse T, reached number 3 on the UK singles chart, while collaborations like Mama Told Me Not to Come with Stereophonics further solidified his relevance. The album's success was extraordinary. 6 times platinum in the UK and over 4 million copies sold worldwide. During this time, Jones also received numerous honors in recognition of his contributions to music. On December 31st, 1999, he was awarded an OB for services to music, and in 2006, he was knighted by Queen Elizabeth II at Buckingham Palace, becoming Sir Tom Jones. These accolades not only reflected his artistic achievements, but also symbolized a broader public acceptance and celebration of his enduring career, despite the scandals and controversies that had marked earlier decades. Even as the music industry evolved, Tom Jones adapted, participating as a judge on The Voice UK in 2012 at the age of 72. His mentor persona on the show made him approachable and relatable, allowing audiences to see beyond the legendary stage presence to a figure of wisdom, experience, and guidance. The combination of late career success, public honors, and mentorship underscore the extraordinary art of his life. From a boy growing up in a small Welsh coalfield town to an internationally recognized and respected entertainer with a career spanning 6 decades. Even in the 2000s and 2010s, Tom Jones refused to slow down. Despite being in his 70s, he continued to record albums, tour extensively, and perform for audiences worldwide. In 2010, he released Praise and Blame, an album influenced by gospel and blues, which harkened back to his early church singing roots. The album was critically praised for its maturity, emotional depth, and restraint, showing a performer who had refined his craft over decades. At the same time, he continued to embrace contemporary audiences through televised appearances and music collaborations, demonstrating a rare ability to remain relevant across generations. His voice, though aged, retained its signature power and expressiveness, carrying the weight of decades of life experiences. These later works showcase an artist who was no longer chasing charts, but instead focused on authenticity, storytelling, and musical exploration. Even when commercial success was modest compared to earlier decades, Tom's ability to engage, inspire, and captivate remained undiminished. Fans old and new were drawn not just to his music, but to the narrative of survival, reinvention, and resilience that his life embodied. His willingness to explore different genres, from pop to gospel to jazz standards, reflected a curiosity and dedication that went far beyond simple performance. It spoke to a lifetime of artistic evolution. Tom Jones' personal life, intertwined with his professional journey, remained complex but marked by enduring loyalty and love. His marriage to Linda Trenchard, which had survived decades of public scrutiny, scandals, and personal challenges, endured until her death from leukemia in 2016 at age 75. The couple's bond, tested repeatedly by affairs, media attention, and long absences, was ultimately a testament to a partnership that weathered extraordinary pressures. Their son, Mark, continued to play a critical role in managing Tom's career, ensuring that the family's interests were balanced with the demands of global fame. Even in his later years, Jones faced health challenges, including a serious lung cancer diagnosis in 2002, linked to decades of heavy smoking. Despite the severity of the illness, which had spread to his liver and spine, he underwent treatment and vocal rest without allowing it to end his career. These experiences added another layer to his public persona, not just a performer or sex symbol, but a man who had faced adversity, personal mistakes, and physical danger, yet continued to perform and create. The combination of professional longevity, personal survival, and continued artistic exploration made him a unique figure in popular culture, demonstrating that reinvention and resilience can coexist with legacy and respect. The final chapter of Tom Jones' story is one of enduring impact and cultural significance. Even as he approached his 80s, he remained active in music and television, mentoring new artists and performing for fans across the world. His participation on The Voice UK introduced him to a generation that had not experienced his night.